Hello, everybody, and welcome to the Lipp Men on Sports, specifically the UFL, and it is championship week. Without further ado, first off, I need to thank yergsradio.com for allowing us the use of their frequencies. And you can also call us if you'd like, 1-888-88-YERGZ on your phone pad. And our hosts will be ready to take your calls. And the Parapost Network, thank you for allowing us on your stations. All right, so let's see. We have Senior Lippman, and then somewhere I thought we had a baby Lippman back there somewhere. And there he is.
Junior around here.
Junior, all right. Well, Junior, we also have Charles in the group here. So I'm going to let you all go to it. And I'm going to move this
our
around.
cousin Charles.
Yeah, is it Charles? Are you related to these people? Do you claim them?
Oh, absolutely not. I mean, I'm much uglier than they are, so no, there's no way. No way they would want to be related to me. So no.
I got it. All right. Well, I don't know what I'm trying to get Jake up there. There we go. Charles, me and you are going to hide down here in the corner. We can let them argue and fight.
Good idea.
I think one went 2-0 and one went 1-1. So I'm not sure how it went. So.
I did. I went 2-0 this week. That I really wanted to pick both upsets, but I knew that was just not going to happen. And I don't know. I felt that now. Jake told me that the Birmingham game seemed easy. Didn't feel easy for a good portion of the game, but by the end of the game, I guess it made it. But we're getting ahead of ourselves. I guess I should say, hey, welcome to the Lipp Men on the UFL. Yeah, it is championship week. We just finished the first and only week of the playoffs, and we're entering the week of the UFL Championship. So, firstly, what's going on, Jake?
Not too much. I got to get used to this desk here, moving into a fully remote job in about 2 weeks. So trying to test how things go. Got some new monitors to set up, and we're going to procrastinate that for a later date so we can talk some football here today. But how's it going with everybody else? I feel like I missed a lot last week, but I can proudly say I texted you my results, and it was a 2-0 week.
Yeah,
take that for what you wish.
Yeah, no, that. Yeah, I think I went 3-1 last week, and so that was pretty good. But we have our guest here, Charles Richardson, who's been here before. He's been here. He's from the Touchdown Crew. He actually is doing the Charles Richardson show tonight, immediately after this show. I don't know how he's going to do both. We're gonna try to keep him really long so that it's like awkward and he's late for his own show. It's gonna be like friendly sabotage. What's up, Charles? Thanks for joining us.
No problem. Thanks for the invite. I was really surprised. Well, actually, I can't say I'm surprised. What I am surprised was Adrian Martinez. You got to look at the MVP that was named just earlier, taken out for Matt Corral. Now you got this head scratcher who's going in to face off against a team that has beaten you already this year for that one lone loss in neutral ground, and possibly with more San Antonio fans than Birmingham fans. That's to be determined. We'll see. But San Antonio is dangerous. And I'm not saying offensively. They're dangerous defensively. They know how to wrap around Martinez. But Corral, there's a reason why he lost the job. Is he the guy to really start this week? And is that even a debate?
And I love that you mentioned that because I wore a shirt themed for this topic of discussion. I mean, and you're so right. I mean, Adrian Martinez was a stellar quarterback all year. I mean, they were splitting time, and then he took the job and ran with it. And I know he's getting NFL looks, so I think they need to. But we'll talk about that a little bit more later.
I will say, Jake, I don't think he's getting many NFL looks at all right now, and I'll tell you why. Because you know what? You can go and perform throughout the regular season, but when it comes to crunch time, you're just another Dak Prescott, and it's just not going to fly with somebody that's looking to lay down a confident quarterback. He just doesn't look confident anymore.
Yeah, but small sample size. And I mean, if you look at his body of work throughout the year, he did a lot of really good work, and you're not asking him to be a starting quarterback. You're asking him to compete for a backup job or even a third string job with the new rules with being able to have 3 quarterbacks active. So I don't think we can rule it off the table. And I think with the big game next week, which I guess I'll cue you in on what I'm thinking is going to happen. I do think he starts again. I think with a good week, you forget about it altogether. This is a what have you done for me lately type of league. So, and sport. So I think that one bad game won't dictate how his MVP season went and when it's all said and done.
I hope you're right. I hope you're right.
All right, well, let's try and put this show into a little bit of a organized track, because there's plenty of time to talk about Adrian Martinez and Birmingham and what happened. And for those of you who didn't watch the game, you got a taste of one of the biggest surprises, and probably the biggest surprise if you were listening to us in a vacuum was that Birmingham won the game. But so let's do what we normally do. We normally talk about attendance. We don't have the ratings numbers in, but the attendance for this week was okay. The Michigan at Birmingham game, Birmingham managed to get itself into 5 figures as opposed to its usual 4 figures. 10,287. Nothing to get excited about. So Birmingham, I don't know. I keep saying all the time. I grew up hearing that Alabama was, sort of the heart and soul of football, and Joe Namath went to Alabama and Roll Tide and all this, and they love their football. When there's spring football, nothing else happens. During the year, it's like a pro game every day on steroids. But I don't know, not sports team. St. Louis hosting a title game. San Antonio, a very exciting team. It's hard to say that the only team that consistently is getting 30,000 plus didn't do a great job. But for this week, 30,237, which might be their smallest crowd of the year, which is strange, because it is a playoff game. And if they won, not only would they be in the championship game, but they're in the championship game at home in the Battle Dome. So I don't know what's up with that. I was told, I think it was actually Charles, your partner Jay, who told me that the St. Louis fans do not love the Battlehawks. They just hate the NFL for abandoning them, and they want to show the NFL that they can support a team and that the NFL made a big mistake. I'm not going to say they lost that argument, but they're going to have a chance this week to prove that they deserve an NFL team, regardless of whether they have a team in St. Louis or not, because they're getting a championship game. And I'd like to do something a little fun. I hope it's a little bit fun. The NFL calls it the Super Bowl. This is just called the UFL Championship game. What should we call this? What do we want to call this game? And feel free to think of these things throughout the game and just go, I have an idea. Like, do you call it the Unibowl? This sounds a little Unabomber-ish. Is it the not so Super Bowl? Is it the pretty good bowl? Is it the almost Major League Bowl? I don't know. What do you call this game?
Well, I definitely think we need to go ahead and take bull out of the equation.
Okay.
Because when you take a look at it, it looks like a cup.
Yeah.
It's a really nice cup. Don't get me wrong.
That's
and I know this is not the Canadian A, so cup usually isn't in our forte. It's bowl or finals or something like that. But I would take bull out of it, and I would call it the Spring Cup.
Okay. Listen.
And I like that because I think you're looking at it. And this week we had the USFL Championship, the XFL Championship. I mean, maybe you call it the unification because really what you're doing is you're unifying 2 different leagues. And I mean, it seemed like, I at least watched very closely the Brahmas celebration. Those players, they were very, very proud. I mean, they were screaming in that poor old man's ears. And I don't know how much more he could have taken of it, but they were very excited to win. So I think when you look at it, I mean, you're really unifying the championship. So I kind of agree with you. It's not a bowl, it's a cup. And maybe we can throw the word unification in there some way or another.
Well, what's the first word in the UFL? United.
Okay.
So it would be the United Bowl.
United Championship Cup, the UCC, which also stands for the Uniform Commercial Code, so it's very easy for me to remember. But
sounds very soccerish, though. I don't know if I like that.
Yeah, but soccer,
if they could get a sponsor, we could change that to a big solo cup. Make the solo cup bowl.
If we got a sponsor, we could change it. Yeah, we could call it the solo cup all you like. That would be fine.
And then turn the trophy all red. It'll be the Red Solo Cup.
Bingo.
Absolutely.
Hmm.
Listen,
I like
we
Yeah,
it.
get
Look at this.
sponsored.
Just flowing.
Let's
The winner's going to drink
dream.
booze out of it.
Let's dream bigger. We can be sponsored by Star Wars and call it the Han Solo Cup. I don't care what the name. I mean, we get bought by the right place, and there you go.
Now,
I'll call it the Chewbacca Cup. I don't care.
here's another thing too. If we're looking at longevity here, which I know nobody is, but if we want to go ahead and expand our minds, what is the trophy in the NFL called? It is the Vince Lombardi Trophy. Why is that? He was the first one to win it.
Mm-hmm.
So what if we make it the Skip Holtz Trophy or the
Wade Phillips?
God, the Wade Phillips Trophy?
You could. You very well could. All right. Well, a lot of good ideas
down that path just yet. We got to see how this week pans out.
That's exactly right. Or if we're sponsored by Olympus, we could just call it the Pan Cup. So there you go. Anyway, all right. So there's a little bit of news for the week, mostly awards. Breland Speaks won the Defensive Player of the Year. Hard to argue against him, but I think that Tavion Beckett might have had a really good argument as well. A few other players as well, but Breland Speaks did have a great year. Hakeem Butler is the Offensive Player of the Year. I definitely would say for the first 3 quarters of the year, sort of fell off as the year went on. But certainly the dominant receiver of the year. And then Adrian Martinez, who you've already heard us mention, was the league MVP. I saw a couple of other awards, but quite frankly, I didn't really understand what they were. I saw like Wade Phillips got an award, but I already know Mike Nolan was the coach of the year. So I'm not really sure what those things were. And because we only have 2 games to go over and less content, I decided to research things less.
I think Wade Phillips got the Old Man of the Year award.
Okay.
50 years. 50 years there. He got the Diamond Anniversary Award. I think that's what it was.
Yeah. What is 50 years? Is it Diamond?
I no. I think it is Diamond.
Yeah,
It's the Viagra Cup. That's what it was. The Viagra Cup.
Yeah, I think maybe you get that for free with it. It comes in more sponsorships there. I mean, it does look a little bit like a V if you put that. It was looking a little fallopian tubish. So anyway, yeah. So those were the big awards. So I guess we can get right into the games. The first game was Michigan against Birmingham. This was a Saturday afternoon game, and we had Danny Etling starting at quarterback for Michigan. Not really a surprise there. Bryce Perkins was put on the injured list. EJ Perry was activated, but sort of as an emergency third, and Brian Lewerke was slated as the QB2. We never needed to find out because Danny Etling played the whole game. Of course, Adrian Martinez got the start for Birmingham, but not the finish. So this game opened up pretty strong for Etling, who threw a touchdown pass to Mariner, a 35-yard strike. They missed the extra point. Birmingham is going to come back. They want to, sort of even up the score, but they had a turnover on downs. And then Jake Bates hit a 42-yard field goal. I'm sorry. He hit a 53-yard field goal, and Birmingham couldn't do anything. They just couldn't get the ball moving. And Jake Bates hit another 43-yard field goal. Now, we've talked about all season long not converting touchdowns, making field goals, and that making teams pay. And we'll see if that happens or not. But at the end of the first quarter, it was 12-0 Michigan, which I think had a lot of people rattled. I was pretty surprised too. I mean, and of course, since I picked Birmingham almost reluctantly, I was a little rattled. I got to say, I didn't want to take my first L in the first game.
I don't know why you'd get rattled. This has been Birmingham's MO all year. I think they even get off on it, to be honest with you.
They do seem to pride themselves on not getting discouraged by it. So we get into the second quarter, and again we get the Birmingham with another field goal, 23 yards, and then you have another Michigan field goal to answer Birmingham's field goal. They first get points is around around 3 or 4 minutes into the second quarter. Then Adrian Martinez, he gets stripped of the ball. There's a fumble. They lose the ball. And that's what led to that Michigan field goal. And it's 18-3. Martinez is rattled. He looks like he doesn't know what's going on. They do have a really nice strike to Jordan Thomas, 50 yards. The extra point was no good, but Jordan Thomas really worked for that. He flew past everyone. It's 18-9. Michigan missed a 51-yard field goal, which is, I habitually say, uncharacteristic for Jake Bates, but it's been getting a little bit more characteristic as the years gone on. So I don't know. And Birmingham hits a 43-yard field goal. So the game at half is 18-12. We have a ball game at halftime, but still Michigan's ahead by a touchdown. And I don't know, how are you guys feeling at the half?
It's really to the point where it was 18-0. I started worrying. And it's like, yeah, Michigan, you're getting too happy. You're getting too confident. I'm worried for you because Birmingham's going to come back, and they always do. And the fact that they go ahead and, yeah, you know what? Jake Bates missing a field goal there. I get it. Listen, you're human, dude. He hits a bunch of 60-yarders. We know you're going to get looks from the NFL, but in the grand scheme of things, they were not punching it in the end zone. They were not playing all that they could. In a game like this, you can't let up.
Absolutely. And I agree with everything Charles just said, because it just felt like they were just leaving something else out there. It kind of just felt like I don't know if I want to say they were, if the moment was too big, but it kind of just felt like they were being over simple with everything that they were doing. They were just trying to keep it simple and kind of just kill the clock, it felt like. And it just felt like they were doing that from too early. And it kind of did feel like they were just comfortable and just coasting. And they thought that they would be able to keep and maintain that lead. And I don't know, going into halftime, I was like, wow, that was a weird score to see. I did not expect that. But as soon as play begins in the second half, I mean, it kind of felt like the game flipped on its head.
Yeah, so it was, but the most notable play of the beginning of the first half was that Michigan did a trick play instead of a punt, and they made it. They flipped it to a player who had played quarterback at some point in his college and high school days, and they threw a 17-yard play to make a fourth down instead. Sort of caught Birmingham asleep. But the very next play, the Stallions caused a fumble on Danny Etling, basically reversing the Adrian Martinez mistake of earlier. But then Birmingham turns it over on a fumble recovery. But immediately after that, Birmingham gets an interception. So the third quarter had 6 total turnovers in the third quarter alone. And this was crazy because Michigan in the first half was winning the turnover. I think they had 2 turnovers. Birmingham had none. Now all of a sudden, I can't even do the math when you put another 6 in there, but it didn't even matter because the whole trajectory, the whole flow of the game was all different. And you could sort of feel, yeah, those field goals that didn't turn into touchdowns. It usually does get you unless your coach is Bill Belichick and Tom Brady's your quarterback. So all right, so Birmingham, they've got the ball, and Matt Corral is in at this point. Adrian Martinez was pulled. He wasn't injured. He was just lacked confidence. He just didn't seem know where. He didn't have his feet. He didn't have his legs. When he ran right into defenders. He didn't see lanes. There weren't lanes for him. He was trying to run when he ran into 3 defensive linemen.
He saw ghosts.
Yeah,
he might have been seeing ghosts. It seemed like he was seeing ghosts. So
but you know what? Before you continue, credit to the coaching there. Like, I would have never thought to replace my MVP quarterback at this point in time. I mean, in the UFL, an 18-point game is only 2 possessions if you play it right. And so I was shocked by the move. And credit to them.
If you took a listen, and I'm sure everybody did, Skip Holtz, each time a turnover was done, was into Martinez's ear. Listen, you got to play the offense. When he started saying that, play our offense. It's like, dude, I'm starting to lose patience with you. It's like saying to my kid, say that to me one more time. Honestly, it seemed like that. And Daddy just had to step in and say, you know what? Get over here, son. Sit down. You're in timeout. Corral, get back in there and do something.
And now that you say that, like I think it was Sam Akko who was on the broadcast. I remember him making a comment about that. He was like, it kind of sounds like they've had this conversation before. And it really did feel like, I mean, it was a kid in the principal's office being told, come on now, you stole this kid's lunch money last week and you stole it this week. I mean, you better not do it again next week. And so I don't know. I was very impressed by that coaching decision and by Matt Corral's performance, which we'll get to in a second.
Yeah, I mean, that's sort of why you have these experienced head coaches, because they're not going to question their own decisions, or at least they'll own it. But yeah, there was I mean, first of all, from commentary, you're right. You heard them say, sometimes when coaching is hard, it has to be harsh. And other times it's learning and supportive, but sometimes it's got to be harsh. And I remember the words very distinctly. Skip Holtz was saying, he's like, I told you to throw it to the hash. I told you throw it to the hash, and you threw it out there into the flat. And I told you the hash, come on now. And then he remembered sort of he had to be nice, go, you know, something. He said something supportive at the end, but sort of like it was in a, you'll get it next time, but there, you know.
There wasn't a next time.
Right, there wasn't a next time. Exactly.
Next
right.
time's going to be this game coming up, possibly.
Exactly. Well, yeah, we're going to have a big debate about that.
Biggest game of the year.
So Corral comes in, and you know, he's Michigan does throw an interception for pick six, which were the first points. I'm sorry. Michigan throws an interception for a pick six, and Birmingham scores their first points of the third quarter. So it's 18-18. The extra point was no good, of course. So this was not a Corral thing, but I guess he gets credit for it. I already pointed out there were 6 turnovers in the third quarter. Then Matt Corral throws a touchdown pass to Amari Rogers. The extra point's bad, but, you know, Birmingham now has its first lead of the game, 24-18. You have Michigan coming back in the game, and they march down the field, but the Birmingham defense is stout. A 44-yard field goal was blocked by Birmingham. So, I mean, we haven't seen a whole lot of those. We've seen a few, but still, I mean, exactly at the right time. And then Person Jr., poor Jake Bates. All Jakes have to stick together. It's like the two Jakes. And then Person Jr., he catches a touchdown pass. And, hey, the extra point was actually good this time. So now the lead is up 31-18. A two-score game, no matter what way you look at it, and 2 touchdown game, no matter what way you look at it. Because a field goal, even if they got the 6 and the 3-point conversion on field goal, it's still only 30 points. Etlane is sacked with 2 minutes and 19 seconds down. Michigan has to burn a timeout. It's 4th and 9. Birmingham gets another interception. It's by Ike Brown. That was his second interception of the day. He had none the rest of the season. So he comes up big when he needed to come up big. Michigan throws the super challenge. Just, you know, I mean, what else are you going to do? They lost the super challenge. So now they're down to 1 timeout, but time ran out on them. Maribel had a pretty solid game. He didn't score any, but he was tough, running in all directions. And, you know, I think that he might be one of the unsung heroes of the game. But really, the Corral, I guess, is the sung hero of the game. And they spread the ball around to you know, all of the receivers and got everyone involved in the game. And that's sort of Birmingham football. We already talked about the attendance. And, you know, I don't know. This was a game of 2 halves. Dickensian. The first half was all Michigan. The second half was mostly all Birmingham. And now I guess is a really good time to discuss, debate who's starting at quarterback.
I actually disagree with what you said. I think it was Michigan for a quarter and a half, because that's what the second half of the second quarter, Birmingham started turning. But let's go quarterback debate. Go ahead.
It's fine.
Yeah. And before we start the quarterback debate, back to the attendance point, I mean, I think we're looking at major red flags with what we're seeing in the championship game coming up. I mean, we've already seen all year that Birmingham fans don't really show up. And now you're saying they're going to go to St. Louis for a championship game, even though they haven't shown up all year. And now that game in St. Louis doesn't have St. Louis, and St. Louis's attendance has slowly been on the decline. I think we're seeing major red flags, and I think this championship game is really going to show what is that true interest outside of just, hey, this is a cool thing to do in my town. I mean, who are the real loyal fans, and what kind of market does this drive? I think that's going to be something that's very interesting to see this week. But if we move into the quarterback debate, I'm not so certain that this weekend's game is going to help with that attendance thing at all, because now you're looking at a drama with no reality show, no news coverage to cover it. I mean, you're just looking at this drama of, do you go to the MVP? Do you go with the NFL second round pick? Do you go with a combination of the two, which worked for you the first 4 weeks? I mean, I'm not really sure what to expect here. I mean, from my point of view, you go to the MVP who's been there, done that. But like I said earlier, this is a what have you done for me lately league. And I wouldn't be surprised if they ride the hot hand with Matt Corral. But if you're me and I'm the coach, you got to go with Martinez and his dynamic legs and ability to do all those game-changing things.
Charles, what do you think?
Yeah, Martinez looked kind of so-so the last couple of weeks, but listen, MVP of the league. He's the one that got you all these wins. He's the one that took that job. Yes, he faltered a little bit, but still, you want to at least give him the start. But let him know, or at least he already knows, he's on a short leash. Let's go ahead and listen to the coach. Let's do what he says, and let's win the game. Because Matt Corral did that. 10 of 12, pretty damn good for me. But again, we're going into, and I like to use these phrases, we're going to the teeth of a rabid pit bull defense. This ain't a defense you saw with Michigan. This is no defense you saw ever before, except for that one loss. Now you're facing this team again. Okay, maybe you learned some things. But that defense, they're pit bulls. They're not little cute chihuahuas. They're going to come after you. They were able to stop Martinez from scrambling everywhere and doing all sorts of crazy stuff. You were held to 9 points. I don't think it really matters what quarterback you start in there. You're going to have to go through hell against this defense.
And that's a great point, because, I mean, the broadcast in the other game was calling them the best defense in the league nonstop, the Brahmas. And then you're looking at this week where Adrian Martinez, the league's leading rusher, not at quarterback, but at any position, carried the ball 4 times for 8 yards. That goes with his 77.5 QBR, which is not as bad as it gets, but that is by no means what you're looking for in a QBR, especially in a championship game. So I think that that's going to be very interesting to see. And the last thing I'd like to say is the last time that they played Birmingham versus the Brahmas, Birmingham's weakness got exposed. Their run defense. They don't do a great job, especially when you're going out wide, of maintaining their responsibilities. And now you're looking at, what did they do last week? Well, a backup running back in Nate McCrary rushed the ball 11 times for 62 yards with power. And what are you going to see from the two-headed monster? And they even had thrown a third head in there, but with Lovett and McFarland, I mean, these guys are playing the best football of their careers right now. So yeah. I think this is going to be a very interesting game to see, have Birmingham learned? Have they made those adjustments?
And you don't need to go ahead. You don't need to go ahead and throw the weight on the game with the Gabbers. Hand that ball off, and good things happen. Just ask St. Louis.
Yeah, it's true. I mean, San Antonio's run game was pretty top notch this past week. Now, we don't have the benefit of being able to see the quarterbacks in practice, or anyone in practice during the course of the week. Adrian Martinez better look really sharp and really confident and know all the plays and know everything. But I tell you, if I'm the coach, I'm starting Matt Corral. One, because San Antonio already beat you once with Adrian Martinez, so maybe it's just that their fast defense that swarms all over the place fills in those lanes that he exploits with his legs. And if it's just him and throwing the ball, he's not the most accurate passer in the world. And, maybe Corral, just the more traditional pocket passer, if you can dink and dunk it. I mean, sort of like, in 99, 2000, the Ravens had, Randall Cunningham, I'm not Randall Cunningham, Tony Banks, sort of a mobile quarterback, not the most accurate guy in the world, and Trent Dilfer, a game manager who wasn't all exciting. And they had to make the switch to Trent Dilfer, and he dinked and dunked it and relied on the defense. And, Birmingham sort of reminds me of the Ravens a little bit, very little bit. I mean, frankly, so does Michigan. But San Antonio reminds me of nobody. I don't know who they are. They're all over the place, but whatever they do, it's like they're a weird team, but they're a fun team. So anyway,
they're the 85 Bears.
I don't know. The 85 Bears had giant. There were the fridge in the middle and Mike Singletary.
I'm not talking about iconic names. I'm just talking about what they do. You go ahead. All right. You want to put Matt Corral in? Let's do that. So you're putting in somebody with no scrambling ability. He's going to be a statue back there, for the sixth down lineman. Ask St. Louis how Dinkin and Duncan worked. It didn't. It didn't work at all. They had to go 14, 15 plays, chewing up the clock, left with nothing. AJ sacked for how many times? It ain't going to work. They know Adrian Martinez. You put Corral back there. All right, he might be a better passer, but he's still going to get his ass knocked on the floor multiple times.
2 Martinez's, 1 Corral. Glenn, you're going to chime in here. Do you want to give a vote?
Well, no, not really. I
Okay,
kind of agree
great.
with Charles. I mean, I kind of agree with Charles on that. So.
I understand. It's a lot to bench the MVP of the league and the most explosive player in the league. That is a big if, but he just looked rattled to me, and I don't know. That's the kind of thing that once a quarterback loses their confidence, I'm not sure that they, it's not like a major league pitcher that you're only as good as your next start. Quarterbacks, it's different. I don't know. We'll see. Anyway, I guess we'll find out what happens. So San Antonio at St. Louis, attendance we talked about over 30,000. This was the Fox game. It started 7 p.m. on Fox, so sort of a night game there. Hopefully both these games do decent ratings, but especially the Fox night game. I mean, hopefully they broke 1 million and maybe peaked at 1.3, 1.4, maybe even we see a 1.5 million at some point on a nice Sunday night kind of evening, catch some football in the spring. I mean, that's the concept anyway, is that people are going to want to watch a little spring ball, in between their NBA and NHL, and they can skip baseball one day, or maybe their team plays in the afternoon or whatever the case is. Anyway, so we have AJ McCarron, still a little bit gimpy. Not the
I would say more than a little bit. I think he was very gingerly on that ankle of his.
I think that's fair as well. Chase Garbers starting. Those are the starting quarterbacks. Garbers, of course, came back last week after kind of about 5 or 6 weeks off, and he did have a wrist injured in last week's game, but he seemed good to go. And he sure started out just fine with going to old reliable for their team, their best wide receiver, Kirkland, who had a touchdown catch early on, and the 1-point conversion was actually good. And then, shortly thereafter, St. Louis couldn't really get anything going. And then another touchdown catch to Smith, and there's another missed extra point in this case. So St. Louis offense was really stifled this entire first quarter. There was, of course, a stout San Antonio defense, and at the second quarter it was 13-0. So it's looking a little bit like the first game, but it didn't feel the same. Michigan, as I think Jake pointed out, is a very methodical team, and I'm not saying that San Antonio is chaotic. I mean, and certainly we saw trick plays tried, but I like to think that I'm the heartbeat of everything. So I still don't know what I'm getting when it gets San Antonio, and I don't think anyone else does either, because I think they're like Muhammad Ali. I think they sort of adjust their game and their game plan to whoever they're playing against.
Yeah, and I think that's a fair way to put it. I mean, I do think they found the code the last few weeks with that ground and pound game. Don't let the quarterback mess it up. Let the quarterback play within the system. But I do agree. I think defensively they can match up with anybody out there. And I think on the offensive side, yeah, they're better running. They're run first for sure. But they can do a little bit of it all. And on Chase Garber's best day, he's a guy that can lead a team in the championship game. I don't know if he's consistently going to do it. I don't know if he's a guy that's going to make it to the NFL level, but he's a guy that can support an offense like this.
Yeah, this league has a lot of pretty good quarterbacks for this league. I don't know if they'd be pretty good in the NFL. I don't know if they're third quarterback material or not. Anyway, in the second quarter, we have a little bit of controversy because Hakeem Butler catches a touchdown catch, but it's ruled incomplete on the field. And the official review let it stand, but I think they let it stand because it wasn't clear enough to overrule the on-field officials. I have to tell you, I think he had possession of that ball, and he just got possession at the same time, like both his feet were still in bounds. Like it was bobbling, but at the end, he finally got it stabilized. You could see the head of the football, the black part of it was out, and it was tucked to his body. It wasn't moving at all anymore, and both of his feet were in there. I don't know if you do a coach super challenge if the review booth already ruled against you, though. I mean, they couldn't rule against themselves. I mean, they can, but I don't think they would. So it's like the review booth, which usually does a pretty good job, I think, tied Coach Beck's hands there. But did you guys see a touchdown as well?
No, I didn't. I think that was the right call.
And I agree with Charles. I do think it was close. It was really close. But I do think that, again, there's no clear and obvious reason to turn it over. And if there's bobbling of the ball, you can't give him a touchdown for that. And when it was clear and obvious, I think it was his left foot was up. But back to the super challenge point, I think it was interesting because they were talking to, I'm forgetting who the ref was on the broadcast, but they were talking to him, and he was basically saying that before the game, they tell the coaches, use your challenges for things that we don't automatically review. Yeah. Where the ball is spotted, holding, the basic stuff that they're reviewing constantly.
That was Dean.
Yeah, Dean Blandino, who did a great job all year. Don't get paid to say that, but maybe I can one day. But he did a great job all year. He did a very good job of articulating that, pass interference, yardage, all those things that they're doing constantly in the booth as the game is in live time. They tell the coaches, don't use your challenge on that. Save your challenge for a call that we can't actually review because we're doing our job. And I think that was a really good point for Dean to make. And I think that transparency is part of the reason why these UFL broadcasts are interesting to watch.
I agree with that. And I think the refs did a pretty good job all year. But even when they didn't, it didn't cost any games, didn't cost any big, because the official review booth would come in automatically. It would review controversial calls and it would overrule a lot of the wrong calls. And then you had the super challenge as well. And there were some that were upheld, but they were probably mostly like missed calls, as opposed to, and some of them did change games, but it wasn't like a blown call. It's like you didn't call a penalty here. And the transparency made it very, you don't have a lot of the shoot the refs that you get in the NFL. There's not a lot of that because there's just too much transparency. And, it's sort of like a tax exempt entity versus a secret corporation. You get to see everything. Anyway, that led to a 4th and 9. So St. Louis had to settle for a 46-yard field goal, which I guess is okay. That was their first points. McCarron was shaken up at the end of the half, and you could see it, right, like his lower shin, like right above his ankle, and his, and it looked like that's what he's holding, but that could have been his ankle, it could have been his whole leg, it could have been his knee, but he was gimping, and as Jake put it properly, he was moving gingerly, and then. He tried to shake it off, but you could tell he was not 100% going into the game. And if he was 75% at the beginning of the game, he was probably something like 61% after this hit, if that.
And was there Philly special play before or after that? I'm forgetting. I just remember they ran the stupidest Philly special play where they threw it to your quarterback who's on a bum ankle and is slow to begin with, and you expect everything to be okay. I didn't get that.
Yeah, there were some strange trick plays this weekend. I mean, fun to see the kitchen sink thrown out, but it wasn't desperation time yet. So anyway, you get a little bit of San Antonio, something that they haven't gotten consistently, but Anthony McFarland, he took a run right up the middle and blew past everybody. Nobody caught him. Nothing tricky about this play. Not a sweep, not a screen, just right up the middle, in between the guards, to the house, 69 yards.
And it was funny
right up
because it
the
looked
middle.
like he wasn't running his full speed either.
It
And,
didn't.
and also that play was right after a 15-yard personal foul penalty too.
Always
So
is.
it's like, go ahead and let us back us up. We don't care.
Right. Extra point missed. You know, I'm going to keep saying it because it annoys the heck out of me. And I know that the 1-point kick is not sexy, but all these mixed extra points is less sexy. You know, and sometimes you have to try something to realize that something was sexy enough, or that there's even less sexy options. I'm not going to do an analogy here. It's 19-3 at this point in favor of San Antonio. Listen, Jacob Sailors, who, by the way, is getting looked at by the New York Giants, which I think makes a lot of sense. He does seem to be like their kind of player, or at least when they've had success running. He gives the Hawks a little bit of run. A little bit of life. He has a 24-yard run and a strong young run. A lot of that was him carrying defenders. And then he has another run. I mean, it wasn't explosive, but it was like a 7 or 8 yard run. So he had probably accounted for 32, 33 yards, 2 back-to-back plays. And they really needed that. And then Butler has a catch, gets to the 3-yard line. Sutherland gets a TD catch, and he puts the ball into the end zone. Definitely breaks the play. And we lost Jake. He must be very upset about this play. A San Antonio defender bats the ball out of his hand, goes flying. So on the field, there seems to be a little bit of confusion as to whether they're going to call a touchdown or not. It looked like they weren't, but they ended up calling it a touchdown, which is proper. He had control of the ball when it broke the field, and it was ruled properly as a touchdown. There was then a trick play, which was a 2-point conversion to Butler, but he didn't get both of his feet down. And so it's now 19-9, 10-point game. Nothing to get excited about, except in a game like this where you're struggling for points. Garbers gets sacked. St. Louis, there's a fumble. St. Louis, there's a little bit of bobbling of the ball, but it keeps bobbling towards the San Antonio goal line. And finally, someone from St. Louis picks up the ball, gets control of it. And at that, he didn't walk into the end zone, but at this point he could have, because he was about at the 9-yard line when he finally picked it up. And he just strolled into the end zone. Then they missed the 2-point conversion. It's 19-15. So St. Louis, we've got a ball game now. But San Antonio, not to be discouraged, just goes down the field. They have to settle for a field goal, but hey, it's now a 7-point game, 22-15. The fourth quarter, there is absolutely no scoring happening. Halfway through the fourth quarter, at a very inopportune time for St. Louis, but a very opportune time for San Antonio. San Antonio gets a sack on McCarron, and then so St. Louis tries to go for a field goal. They missed the field goal. This was their kicker's first missed field goal after 13 straight successful attempts. So sort of everything going wrong at all the wrong times. I don't know that a field goal would have made a difference or not, but it would have felt a little bit good. We're at the 2-minute warning at this point. San Antonio gets a 45-yard field goal. It's 25-15. There's 1 minute and 56 seconds when we, at this point. St. Louis drives down, but it's a 2-score game at this point, and the San Antonio defense is out. It's 4th and 10 with 5 seconds. Yeah, they're slow rolling it. St. Louis did not play with any urgency. They really just didn't. And San Antonio wins 25-15. And in that, St. Louis didn't do a 2-minute drive. They didn't do a 2-minute offense. I mean,
they had no sense of urgency whatsoever. They didn't care about the time. And I'm going to put all this blame. I'm not going to put it on AJ. I'm going to put this on the coaching staff. It's like, do you not realize the situations? You got the announcers yelling at you down the field, kick the stupid field goal, and then do the 4th and 12. You have to have yourself some time. You mean to tell me you're going to run a play with 8 seconds to go to try to get a touchdown where you ain't going to get any more time at all? It's you let it roll off like that. What are you doing? You're down by 2 scores. You need to score quickly, get a field goal with at least a minute to go. That leaves you at least with the 4th and 12. Yes, I understand. 1 minute to get down the field for a touchdown. I get it, but you know what? It's better to get some points and at least be down by 1 score. And nothing made any sense the way they called it. I'm going to go ahead and put all the blame on the coaching staff.
Charles, you're absolutely correct there. I mean, I was hoping we were going to get to talk about this today. I was horrendous. I mean, I was absolutely abysmal. Your job is to be a coach of football, and I didn't see any coaching there. I saw it kind of just felt like they were throwing in the towel. I mean, you have the Brahmas leaving you the middle of the field open, and they're not even throwing it to the middle of the field. They're throwing it in the flats. Like, I mean, at least take what the defense is giving you. But regardless, you need to get downfield, go downfield, or kick that field goal and then run your Hail Mary afterwards. But don't leave yourself 12 seconds and a 4th down. I mean, It just made absolutely no sense to me.
Bruce Grodkowski, am I correct? He's the OC at St. Louis. He's fired.
Yeah.
I mean, I don't understand what he was doing, what he was thinking, but you don't go ahead, grab the ball with a couple minutes to go, or even less than that, and you just simply dink and dunk down the field. The more I don't care about the 2-minute timing rules. You get a first down, clock stops. It stops until the ball is placed. Then it rolls. And you're still letting 5-10 seconds off when you should be hustling to the line of scrimmage to get the next damn playoff.
But you know what? I agree. The play calling goes on the OC, but at a certain point, as the head coach of the football team, you've got to step in and put some authority down and say, this is what we're doing. I mean, cut the crap out. I mean, I mean, all around, I couldn't understand it. And even AJ McCarron, like the beginning of the year, he's screaming, let me have the ball in my hands. And now in the championship game, you're okay with them dinking and dunking and running the ball all game long. Like, I don't know. There was something off about that St. Louis team the entirety of the game.
I agree. Some lack of urgency. Sure, it's one thing to talk about the Grodkowskis, and I agree. But there's a head coach there who can say, "Hurry up, guys!" And he's a fairly excitable guy, but it seemed like at the wrong time. So, yeah, I don't know what they could have or should have done different other than be with more urgency. But they have a bunch of tall players. Not Sutherland is a big tight end. Hakeem Butler is the tallest guy, hands guy probably in the league. They've got the speed guy and Jakor Stevenson.
And they have Marcel Aitman, who's 6'5" too.
Yeah, they have Marcel Aitman, who was a standout in the beginning of the season and sort of went silent. I don't know if he was inactive or not, but I don't know. Actually, they had a lot of weapons.
But there is one thing that we're not saying here. These St. Louis Battlehawks had to go through 11 nasty, rabid pit bulls who knew how to cover.
Yeah. Listen, Wade Phillips is Bum Phillips' son. I mean, and that's defense, and they're right there, and they're right next to the Buddy Ryan and Rex Ryans and Buddy Ryans. Came from the Bum Phillips line also. It's a Texas defense. Back before there were rules to protect the quarterback. Back when Buddy Ryan would throw punches at that, who was it? Wayne Gilbride, was he the offensive coordinator? He got in a fight with at the sideline. Anyway, yeah. Listen, kudos to San Antonio. San Antonio won this game. St. Louis didn't do everything right, but San Antonio won this football game. And I was on the Brahmas, then I sort of got off them, then I got back on the Brahmas. But once I got back on, I hadn't left them. Congratulations, Jeff. It's all 10 weeks. It was such a commitment.
And you know what? It was really a team effort for the Brahmas. It wasn't one standout. I mean, you had, and just talking defense alone, you had Tease Tabor, who could have had an interception and broke up a couple passes and made some big tackles. You had Wyatt Ray on the D line, who was getting active. Prince Emili, who felt like he was in the backfield every single play, and he had 2 sacks. Corey Mayfield had some great coverage on Hakeem Butler. I mean, a multitude of different guys on their defense is what made it happen for them. And it allowed them to be, dare I say it, one-dimensional on offense. They really only were focused on running the ball. And I don't know if either of you mentioned it while I was gone for a second there, but A.J. Smith, their offensive coordinator, the sideline reporter went over and asked him, what is your plan here going into the half? He said, GTFO, and walked away. Like, they had no interest in throwing the ball. They had no interest in playing around. They just wanted to get out of there with the win. And they did it with all 11 guys on the field at all times.
Couldn't agree more.
It was great. It was great. And I think, honestly, since I'm wrapping up my time over here, I got to get going. But honestly, I think the yellow and black will be holding up that first championship trophy.
All right. That's what I was going to ask you to say before we go. Tell the people where they can find you.
Just saying that defense is going to be the key right here. You can find me on Facebook and YouTube. Search the Charles Richardson Show. That's going to be my regular talk show I do on Mondays and Wednesdays most of the time. And then, of course, the Touchdown Crew, which we do Tuesday nights at 8 p.m. And we will have Sunday at 4:30. We will have a UFL Championship watch-along party. So feel free to join us there. We'll start half hour before. We'll all talk about the game, and we're going to sit back and we're going to see who gets crowned first ever UFL champion.
All right. Well, thank you
Exciting
for joining
stuff.
us. Thanks for staying. Good luck with the Charles Richardson Show, the flagship of the Richardson Empire. And have a good show. And and your pick is San Antonio. It's in the books. We got it.
Thank you. Have a good one, guys.
Thank you, Charles.
Thanks,
Bye.
Charles, for coming on the show.
Now let's do a little intermezzo and do a little palate cleanser while we're getting ready to make our big picks. Because listen, we only have one game to go, so I'm going to take a couple moments here to rest in peace to my friend Reverend Jim Willis, who is a 7-time guest on Garden of Doom, a prolific author, wrote The Censoring God, which was, I believe, a bestseller. He's been on all sorts of panels and shows, had his own show. He's on Earth Ancients several times. He was on the Earth Ancients end of year best of show. Just a great guy. He actually lives sort of in your neck of the woods there, Glenn. More in the woods. Definitely lived in the woods, but very sad. And I'm going to try to do some sort of homage to him on the air. He did send me some recordings. I don't know if they're quality enough that we can take his recordings and re-record them on a show, but we're going to try. I'm sure someone could, but I don't know that we have the skill set here. I also have a little kudos. Professor Robert Temple, who's been on the show and also referred me to Mark Booth, who's the best-selling author of the book, The Secret History of the World, which I recorded on Sunday. But Professor Robert Temple on our show told us about the fourth state of matter being plasma. You know what we call that these days? Dark matter. And to my friend George Mitrovic, who told me on the show, he's been on the show several times, who said there's a fifth state of matter, the Bose-Einstein condensate. And today, popular mechanics says scientists make quantum leap in the fifth state of matter. And he said, I mentioned the Bose-Einstein condensate a couple of years ago as a possible solution to interdimensional travel. So George Mitrovic, once again, decades ahead of other people, just like Professor Robert Temple was decades ahead of other people. Hey, if you want to get the science, that other people call pseudoscience, but it turns out to be real science, listen to Garden of Doom. Plus, you understand. All right, that is the intermezzo and the palate cleanser. Now it's time to pick the championship game. Glenn, you have been really quiet this week. It's frankly, it's making me a little nervous. So we're going to go to you, Glenn.
Oh, great. I was going to ask if you were feeling better after that diatribe there, but
it was a monologue.
Yeah, well, okay. It didn't even seem rehearsed.
Samantha.
I was looking at it, and Birmingham is favored heavily, but
which makes sense.
Maiden Phillips has something to really fight for. If he wins this, not only would he be the first head coach, he'd be the first head coach to win both an NFL Super Bowl and UFL. So I think he's going to put a little fire under them and say, hey, I'm not going to be around much longer. Let's do this.
Go out with a bang.
Yeah, why not? Have a heart attack on the sideline. He's worth $9 million. So,
whoa, Jake,
my turn. Well, our first two have gone with the Brahmas, and so before I even talk about my pick, let's backtrack to the very beginning of the season. Before week one even started, we were doing our preview. There was someone on this show that said, I kind of like the Brahmas. They kind of look good, and everybody's hating on them. I don't know who that was, but it might have been me.
It was you.
And with that said, they were also the largest underdogs to win the UFL Championship going into the season, which makes it 2 years in a row that the biggest betting underdog makes it to the championship game. And it's kind of scary to hear that both Glenn and Charles think that the Brahmas are going to win, considering that they're also large underdogs here in this game. And it could be my recency bias, or it could be what I saw the last time these two teams played. But I'm taking the Brahmas. I think that the betting line's off. I think that this is a very close matchup. And I take the Brahmas with a caveat, knowing that their offense is one-dimensional. If they're going to win, it's going to be because they pounded the rock and ran the ball. If they win, it's because their defense showed up like they have the last few weeks. But I think that they have all the tools to make that recipe for success. I mean, they've got the guys on the outside to cover these big and quick receivers. They've got the run defense and the pass rush to fluster a quarterback. And you pair that with probably the best running game in the league against a team whose clear weakness is defending the run. Give me the Brahmas, and honestly, I think the Brahmas make good work of it. I think that they look really good, and Wade Phillips looks like an NFL head coach again.
Well, we are either going to be all wrong or all right, because it is hard to go against the Birmingham Stallions. But then again, it is hard to put out a shirt that looks like this if you're a professional football team. And they did that. So for all...
I was going to ask if that was a My Little Pony shirt when we first started.
I don't know what it is.
It is cute.
I wear it out and people ask me if I'm a brony. And I'm like, sadly, I know what that is. And no, get away, jabroni. Anyway, so this is a really bad week to go in not knowing who your starting quarterback is, or even if not being confident in your starting quarterback, not having your team be exactly confident. Your game plan has to be different if it's Corral versus Martinez. There's not going to be those design runs. Even if you put him in as a slash, if he has success, your locker room is going to be too. He had success running. You got to keep Martinez in. We need to win this game, especially if you're playing from behind. This is like one of those no-win situations. So the coach is either going to look brilliant or like a dog, but it's just the wrong week to have to do this. And I know it was only one game, but I did not like what I saw from Martinez. I didn't like his body language. I didn't like the way his eyes looked. I like Corral. I think Corral's good. I think we've said many times that I think that Matt Corral might be the fourth best quarterback in the UFL. I'm not sure if I feel that way anymore or not. I really aren't, but he's definitely in the top half of quarterbacks, including the starters and the rather deep benches that plenty of these teams have used more than one quarterback. I think almost all of them have used more than one quarterback. I'm just not sure if this team, is built to win around Matt Corral. They play a little bit more like Michigan when Matt Corral's in there than they play like Birmingham.
And I was going to say, I feel like when they play with Matt Corral, they're just missing something. They don't have the full package that they have when Martinez is in and on his game.
Yeah. So Matt Corral's going to have the game of his life, or is he? He might not even be the starting quarterback. So anyway, I'm going to go with the Brahmas. I'm not talking. I picked them, but I'm not talking about them. But you're right. You're going to get you're going to see a lot of Lovett. You're going to see a lot of McFarland up the middle. I don't know if McCrary's going to be in there as well. I think you're going to see. I think they're going to surprise you. They're going to throw in passes to Surratt in the middle there. They're going to make sure that Kirkland is all over the place and get the ball to him. I don't even know who their other receivers are. I don't even think it really matters. I think that they're not afraid to spread the ball, and as long as they get a couple of catches and run through the gut or run up, Lovett runs up the gut and along the side. Well, McFarland does it both, but you just punish the interior of that Birmingham line. I think you're going to do some things. I think it's going to be a fun game. It is
Absolutely.
Truly neutral ground. I don't think either of these teams' fan bases travel particularly well. San Antonio shows up better. I'm sorry.
So we'll see who shows up. But I did want to chime in. Yeah, did you know John Trey Kirkland used to be a quarterback at one point in time? I learned that recently.
I did not know that, but it doesn't surprise me. Oftentimes these guys in the NFL at some point played quarterback for someone because they're usually the best player on their team if you make it to this far, and usually you have your quarterback as the you're the best player on your team. I mean, you were the quarterback, so obviously you were like, yeah.
What can I say? Best player on the team, back quarterback. But I would like to add to that. I do think that we see some trick plays. We've seen San Antonio open up the bag of tricks, starting back in week 1 when they did the fake punt and threw it all the way downfield to Alex Lipp, their center, for the touchdown. So I think we should be expecting the unexpected from them. And you said you don't even know who their other receivers are, but they got Marquez Stevenson, who's been one of the best receivers in the league the last few weeks and came up big in a number of clutch spots for them last week. So they really do have a number of weapons. And if Chase Garber shows up, that defense shows up, I know the running game is going to show up. They could run away with this game. And that's against the best team in the league.
Yeah, I think you're right. I think they're going to do a lot of trick plays because trick plays aren't that tricky for them. It's sort of normal for them to do that. They played every game like it's their last game, and they never quit. They had a couple of heart attack, come from behind last second wins. So they keep it close enough. They're never out of the game. I mean, I don't want. It's hard to disrespect Birmingham that was 9-1 in the regular season and is now 10-1, but I guess I'm going to, because they seem to be in a little bit of chaos and a little bit of funk at exactly the wrong time. So, yeah, we're 4 for 4 picking the San Antonio Brahmas, and I'm going to have that gray shirt washed and ready to wear next week. Hopefully, I'll be able to wear it on the air. If not, I might have to wear this donkey shirt again.
You can't go wrong with My Little Pony.
Yeah, how can you? You're exactly right.
Did your wife put it in with something else and make it kind of that pink color, or is it supposed to be that pink color? Just curious.
No, I think this is the color that it came. I mean, the real question is, how did I point and click at this shirt for Birmingham? All of the other shirts are normal, and this one is did I just get tired and just say, I'll take anything, I don't care. I guess I can't see myself voluntarily pick. I believe that maybe they sent me the wrong shirt and it's just so stupid that I kept it. I don't know, but this stupid shirt is convincing me that the Brahmas are going to win.
Makes sense to me.
Yeah, of course. It's total
logic.
Yeah, it's flawless. Yes. Genius. Brilliant, as they say on the other side of the pond. All right. I don't know what else to say, except this is a pretty good time for, I guess, Jake to say where he can be followed and found.
Jake_Lippman on Twitter. That's all I've got.
Glenn, where can you be followed and found now? You got a lot of stuff going on.
Yeah, I don't know. You can. We do the Parapost Network now. We're on Yerg's Radio. I'm pretending to be a DJ over on the Thin Line Rock Station 3 days a week, noon till 2 Tuesday and Thursdays, and Flashback Fridays. Tune in for something special this Flashback Friday. There's a most requested song is going to be first on the list, so check that out. We've got a vampire and horror writer on Wednesday night, although pair are normal guys. And then we have a female fighting force on the Friday Night Great and Guardian Gang. So it's an eventful week. And then the Misfits.
Who do they fight?
Do something. Well, they fight the fire, of course.
Oh, so, I was hoping it was a Mortal Kombat thing.
They would kick our ass. They're in shape. We're,
Okay. All right. Listen,
I was going to say, I was just reading a headline here, and it appears that Jake, your boy Jake, is injured, and that all teams except Detroit have stopped looking at him.
And it did look like he when that kick got blocked, he struggled to get up. So it doesn't surprise me, and it also doesn't surprise me that Detroit's willing to give him a look, because Detroit always needs a kicker, and he's done well up in that altitude. But that's unfortunate for Jake. I mean, he really had a hell of a start to the season.
He did. So yeah, I just across this breaking news. All right, so Jeff, where can they find you? We've
way too many places. So on Twitter X, you can find me at IcarusFellND, obviously right here on the Lippman on UFL. Later tonight, I'm supposed to be on Unpopular Review doing the Raw watch along. I usually kick in around 9:30 or so when I catch up to live time. This past weekend, I did Smack Attack on the Hameen Media Group channel Attitude. So if you want to talk all wrestling, but it was supposed to be primarily SmackDown, but we probably split it between All Wrestling and then into SmackDown. My regular wrestling podcast is Hammerlock Hangover. That dropped yesterday as well. I did the NXT Battleground review show on the Drew Yari experience last night. He dropped the audio.
In the UFC Apex. Very interesting. I like the setup.
Yeah, it was an interesting experiment. They charged $250 for tickets. They sold out. They made a buckload. I'm not sure I like it because, I mean, NXT is in a studio, so it felt only a little bit bigger. And there didn't seem to be enough room between the fans and the wrestlers. Obviously, in pro wrestling, there's a lot of flying out of the ring, and spacing is important. And even a difference of a few feet can make a difference. And I don't think they love that. But I don't know.
I will say, give us the setup that NXT had for UFC Apex events, and you guys can have the Apex setup because the Apex setup sucks and there's plenty of space.
Well, UFC and WWE obviously have the same parent owner, and they want to do as many synergies as possible. And using the Apex is probably going to be, this will not be the last time. What else do I do? All right, Garden of Doom, already mentioned it, and Garden Views comes with Garden of Doom, and you already got a touch of what Garden of Doom is all about. But, you know, it's a lot like the paranormal guys, cryptids, UFOs, things that go bump in the night, content creators, horror books and films, a little bit of pop culture by Pop Culture. We destroyed Wonder Woman 84 one episode, but sung the praises of the Battlestar Galactica reboot and the Babylon 5 reboot. Have shows on Mayans, Olmecs, the Celts, the Huns, you name it, we got it. All sorts of exciting stuff. So Garden of Doom and Garden Views, more space, more law, tech, science, and real politics. I think that's enough. I'm sure I'm missing something, but it doesn't matter.
No, I'm going to have you help interview Roller Girl this week. So
Roller Girl. So it looks like maybe I'll be somewhere else. We'll see if my schedule allows for that, but we'll see. I'm all over the place, and and I ramble, as you can hear right now. I got nothing to say. People, goodbye. Someone smarter than me take us out.
All right. Well,
I nominate Glenn.
I'll push a button or two. Thank you for letting us be on yergsradio.com. We appreciate it. And the toll-free number. Hopefully we'll get a live caller next week. We really need to push that so we can get I like the randomness of that. Sometimes it just throws you off.
At least for a championship game. I mean, next week we're only going to have one game to talk about and probably not much in the way of news. A little bit of ratings, a little bit of attendance, but
and Monday is the day that players will be free to sign with the NFL, so there will be some news in that regard.
Yes,
that's true. We'll have to keep a close eye on that, and we will. But it's a perfectly good time for our first callers to come, and hopefully, mostly you'll talk to us about football.
Yeah, you never know.
No Ryan from Cumberland, Maryland's calling Coast to Coast After Dark.
Yeah. I don't want your insurance.
That's it. They call me about my car warranty. All right, well, we're going to go out of here thanking the Parapost Network for allowing us to be on their network. And here we go.